Hey everybody. So today I decided I would start something a little bit new and different than anybody else is out there doing. So I've been trying to figure out for the life of me what I'm going to do to make my channel different. So what I'm thinking we will start doing is, instead of me reacting to music videos and TV shows, episodes, blah, 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 and I was going to do reality TV, but people are kind of starting to do that. So I was thinking, make it different. We will listen to an audiobook together, and then we will discuss the chapter we listened to as a form of like a reaction book club kind of thing. So, and if there's anything super outrageous, I might stop it at that moment. But otherwise, for the most part, we can talk about it. And I'll give my review of that said chapter after we listen to it on Audible. So this is a new thing. I think I'm going to try, see if it catches. We'll see. So here goes. Oh, our first book is going to be Codependent No More, just like I was originally going to do on the paper book, but I figure if we can read it together, or listen to it together on Audible, that can be like a reaction. So here goes. Part 1.
Part 1. What's codependency, and who's got it? Chapter 1. Jessica's story. Georgianne, who is married to an alcoholic, says, "The sun was shining, and it was a beautiful day when I met him. Then, everything went crazy." This is Jessica's story. I'll let her tell it. "I sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee, thinking about my unfinished housework. Dishes, dusting, laundry. The list was endless, yet I couldn't get started. It was too much to think about. Doing it seemed impossible. Just like my life, I thought. Fatigue, a familiar feeling, overtook me. I headed for the bedroom. Once a luxury, naps had become a necessity. Sleeping was about all I could do. Where had my motivation gone? I used to have an excess of energy. Now it was an effort to comb my hair and apply makeup daily, an effort I frequently didn't put forth.
I
lay on my bed and fell into a deep sleep. When I awoke, my first thoughts and feelings were painful. This also was not new. I wasn't sure which hurt most. The raw ache I felt because I was certain my marriage was over. The love was gone, extinguished by the lies and the drinking and the disappointments and the financial problems. The bitter rage I felt toward my husband, the man who had caused it all. The despair I felt because...
Wow, this really sounds like my son's father. He was an alcoholic and addicted to gambling. Gambled away our rent money several times. I had to fix it. And that's when I became the fixer in that relationship. So let's hear how this plays out.
God, whom I had trusted, had betrayed me by allowing this to happen. Or the mixture of fear, helplessness, and hopelessness that blended into all the other emotions. Damn him, I thought. Why did he have to drink? Why couldn't he have sobered up earlier? Why did he have to lie? Why couldn't he have loved me as much as I had loved him? Why didn't he stop drinking and lying years ago, when I still cared? I never intended to marry an alcoholic. My father had been one. I had tried so hard to carefully choose my husband. Great choice.
That's funny because both of my parents, sides of their families, had such a disease. My dad was the worst though. But
Frank's problem with drinking had become apparent on our honeymoon when he left our hotel suite late one afternoon and didn't return until 6:30 the next morning. Why didn't I see then? Looking back, the signs were clear. What a fool I had been. Oh no, he's not an alcoholic. Not him, I had defended time and again. I had believed his lies. I had believed my lies. Why didn't I just leave him, get a divorce? Guilt, fear, lack of initiative, and indecision. Besides, I had left him before. When we were apart, all I did was feel depressed, think about him, and worry about money. Damn me. I looked at the clock. 2:45. The kids would soon be home from school. Then he would be home expecting supper. No housework done today. Nothing ever got done. And it's his fault, I thought. His fault. Suddenly, I shifted emotional gears. Was my husband really at work? Maybe he had taken another woman to lunch. Maybe he was having an affair. Maybe he had left early to drink.
Oh,
Maybe
girl.
he was at work, creating problems there. How long would he have this job anyway? Another week? Another month? Then he'd quit or be fired, as usual. The phone rang, interrupting my anxiety. It was a neighbor, a friend. We talked, and I told her about my day. I'm going to Al-Anon tomorrow, she said. Want to come along? I had heard about Al-Anon. It was a group for people married to drunks. Visions.
Okay, I really don't like Al-Anon for one, because I'm not necessarily a believer in tough love being a big help. You can give support in other ways than financial means and, like giving into the habit or whatever. So I don't feel that Al-Anon is what's up. But, more power to you.
Charged into my mind of the little women huddled at this meeting, making the most of their husbands' drinking, forgiving them, and thinking of little ways to help them. I'll see, I lied. I've got a lot of work to do, I explained, not lying. Outrage poured through me, and I barely heard the rest of our conversation. Of course I didn't want to go to Al-Anon. I had helped and helped. Hadn't I already done enough for him? I felt furious at the suggestion that I do more and continue giving to this bottomless pit of unmet needs we called a marriage.
Oh.
I was sick of shouldering the burden and feeling responsible for the success or failure of the relationship. It's his problem, I railed silently. Let him find his solution. Leave me out of this. Don't ask another thing of me.
No.
Just make him better, and I'll feel better. After I hung up the phone, I dragged myself into the kitchen to fix supper. Anyway, I'm not the one that needs help, I thought. I haven't drank, used drugs, lost jobs, and lied to and deceived those I loved. I've held this family together, sometimes by the skin of my teeth. I've paid the bills, maintained a home on a scant budget, been there for every emergency, and, married to an alcoholic, there had been plenty of emergencies. Gone through most bad times alone, and worried to the point of frequent illness.
What a witch.
No, I decided, I'm not the irresponsible one. To the contrary, I've been responsible for everything and everyone. There was nothing wrong with me. I just needed to get going, start doing my daily chores. I didn't need meetings to do that. I just feel guilty if I went out when I had all this work to do at home. God knows I didn't need more guilt. Tomorrow, I get up and get busy. Things will be better.
I don't like
Tomorrow.
Jessica's story, I'll tell you.
When the kids came home, I found myself hollering at them. That didn't surprise them or me. My husband was easygoing, the good guy. I was the bitch. I tried to be pleasant, but it was hard. Anger was always just beneath the surface. For so long, I had tolerated so much. I was no longer willing or able to tolerate anything. I was always on the defensive, and I felt like I was, somehow, fighting for my life. Later, I learned I was. By the time my husband came home, I had put a disinterested effort into preparing supper. We ate, barely talking. I had a good day, Frank said. What does that mean, I wondered. What did you really do? Were you even at work? Furthermore, who cares? That's nice, I said back. How was your day? He asked. How in the hell do you think it was? I railed silently. After all you've done to me, how do you expect me to have any day? I flashed him daggers, forced a smile, and said, "My day was okay. Thanks for asking." Frank looked away. He heard what I wasn't saying, more than what I had said. He knew better than to say anything else. I did too. We were usually one step away from a raving argument, a recount of past offenses, and screamed threats of divorce. We used to thrive on arguments, but we grew sick of them, so we did it silently. The children interrupted our hostile silence. Our son said he wanted to go to a playground several blocks away. I said no, I didn't want him to go without his father or me. He wailed he wanted to go, he would go, and I never let him do anything. I yelled he wasn't going, and that was that. He yelled, "Please, I have to go, all the other kids get to go." As usual, I backed down. "Okay, go ahead, but be careful," I warned. I felt like I had lost. I always felt like I lost, with my kids and with my husband. No one ever listened to me. No one took me seriously. I didn't take me seriously. After supper, I washed dishes while my husband watched television. As usual, I work and you play. I worry and you relax. I care and you don't. You feel good, I hurt. Damn you. I walked through the living room several times, purposely blocking his view of the television and secretly flashing him hateful looks. He ignored me. After tiring of this, I promenaded into the living room, sighed, and said I was going outside to rake the yard. "It's really the man's job," I explained, "but I guess I'll have to do it." He said he'd do it later. I said later never came. I couldn't wait. I was embarrassed by the yard. Just forget it. I was used to doing everything, and I would do that too. He said okay, he would forget it. I stormed outside and stomped around the yard. As tired as I was, bedtime came too early. Sleeping with my husband had become as strained as our waking moments. We would either not speak, each curling up on opposite sides of the bed as far away from each other as possible, or he would make attempts, as though everything were fine, to have sex with me. Either way, it was tense. If we turned our backs to each other, I would lie there with confused, desperate thoughts. If he tried to touch me,
I'm sorry, y'all, but this lady is a trip. Like, all she does is complain. But, I mean, I get it. Her husband isn't really trying. He's a drunk, but he probably doesn't realize there's even an issue. To her, there's all this negative energy and whatnot, but to him, everything's fine because you're not even communicating with the guy. So how the hell is he supposed to know any different? Let's see.
I froze. How could he expect me to make love to him? How could he touch me as though nothing had happened? Usually I pushed him away with a sharp, "No, I'm too tired." Sometimes I agreed. Occasionally I did it because I wanted to, but usually, if I had sex with him, it was because I felt obligated to take care of his sexual needs and guilty if I didn't. Either way, sex was psychologically and emotionally unsatisfying. But I told myself I didn't care. It didn't matter. Not really. Long ago I had shut off my sexual desires. Long ago I had shut off my need to give and receive love. I had frozen that part of me that felt and cared. I had to survive. I had expected so much of this marriage. I had so many dreams for us. None of them had come true. I had been tricked, betrayed. My home...
Guys, you know what I'm noticing is there's a lot of I's. I had a lot of dreams for this marriage. Marriage isn't just about you. Marriage is about both of you and what your dreams were together for the marriage. See, a lot of couples these days don't last because you don't value the strength in communication, trust, loyalty, that bond, keeping the bond alive and keeping the connection hot.
Home and family, the place and people who should have been warm, nurturing, a comfort, a haven of love, had become a trap, and I couldn't find the way out. Maybe I kept telling myself it will get better. After all, the problems are his fault. He's an alcoholic. When he gets better, our marriage will get better. But I was beginning to wonder. He had been sober and attending Alcoholics Anonymous for 6 months. He was getting better. I wasn't. Was his recovery really enough to make me happy? So far, his sobriety didn't appear to be changing the way I felt, which was, at age 32, dried up, used up, and brittle. What had happened to our love? What had happened to me? 1 month later, I began to suspect what I would soon learn was the truth. By then, the only thing that had changed was I felt worse. My life had ground to a halt. I wanted it to end. I had no hope that things would get better. I didn't even know what was wrong. I had no purpose except to care for other people, and I wasn't doing a good job of that. I was stuck in the past and terrified of the future. God seemed to have abandoned me.
See, I've been there. I went through so much with my son's father. By the time he changed, it was too late. And I already had all this resentment and anger towards him for everything he put me through in the beginning, that he went back and relapsed because I couldn't forgive him.
I felt guilty all the time and wondered if I was going crazy. Something dreadful, something that I couldn't explain, had happened to me. It had snuck up on me and ruined my life. Somehow, I had been affected by his drinking, and the ways I had been affected had become my problems. It no longer mattered whose fault it was. I had lost control.
Yeah.
I met Jessica at this point in her life. She was about to learn 3 fundamental ideas. Number 1, she wasn't crazy. She was codependent. Alcoholism and other compulsive disorders are true family illnesses. The way the illness affects other family members is called codependency. Number 2, once they have been affected, once it sets in, codependency takes on a life of its own. It is similar to catching pneumonia or picking up a destructive habit. Once you've got it, you've got it. Number 3, if you want to get rid of it, you have to do something to make it go away. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. Your codependency becomes your problem. Solving your problems is your responsibility. If you're codependent, you need to find your own recovery or healing process. To begin that recovery, it helps to understand codependency and certain attitudes, feelings, and behaviors that often accompany it. It's also important to change some of these attitudes and behaviors and understand what to expect as these changes occur. This book will search for those understandings and encourage those changes. I'm happy to say Jessica's story had a happy ending, or a new beginning. She got better. She started living her own life. I hope you do too.
Well, that was very, very interesting. Let me bookmark that. Okay, good. We can save our spot and we can go back for another chapter tomorrow. I just want to say, you guys, that I realized something when we were listening to that my codependency started long before my son's father. It started when I was a child due to family members I was around that were alcoholics. So if you yourself or you know someone, please get help, because it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. And if there's young children involved, they will become codependent and have issues for the rest of their lives. So please get help if you know of anybody that is suffering from alcoholism. And I will see you guys tomorrow for chapter 2 of BerBer Bella's book club. Later.